like I started drinking and I became a problem drinker, and an alcoholic. It developed into a sickness to hide those emotions, to hide what was happening to me on the inside, because like I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't express myself, and so I think, even learning about empaths in a deeper way, essentially a lot of us empaths, we fall victim to addictions,
Yep.
um, you know, because we're so consumed by this world being so fucked up that it's like the only way we can
Cope.
step outside ourselves, could exist.
Yeah.
Alcohol in the beginning, it was great. It was great. Whoa, I can turn this off. Great. And I have a personality to where I met a lot of people. I partied a lot. And of course, I found people like that. This is the world we live in. I heard Cardi B say the other day, about my vagina, essentially, because that's what y'all want to hear. Like, it sells. You know what I'm saying? And so I did what everybody else wanted to do. I drank until I freaking got crazy. And it wasn't until I was alone in my adult life that I realized that I have a fucking problem. I have a problem because I couldn't go out into the world with any confidence, because everything that had ever happened to me, the alcohol is funny like that. In the beginning, yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Ooh, but then it turns on you. It turns on you, and before you know it, it uses everything that you were trying to run away from against you. And then it leaves you in the room with just you and your fear. And then you can't escape it. And then you're consumed by it. And then essentially that's who you think you are.
For questions, comments, and to show your support, visit us on the web at afroempath.com. Okay, cool. It's my first time using this program.
Oh, really? It's very simple for me. I've actually used it somewhere else, so I'm glad that you at least had it. So I don't know how we're gonna do this.
Gotcha. So, tell me a bit about yourself. You're from LA, right?
Yes, I'm from LA. This is actually really exciting because I found your podcast maybe a little less than a month now, and so it's always weird. I'm used to listening to so many podcasts, and then it's actually to speak to someone kind of in person and hear their voice. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy, but
no, actually, you know what? Bump that. Tell me about how you found the podcast. I got to hear this. How many episodes you listened to? This is the only feedback I get for the most part. So
no, I am sure. I've listened to maybe 3 or 4. You have a lot, and so I like to kind of start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to your first podcast, and it was really good. And then I listened to, maybe I skipped a little bit because I kind of went through topics, and then from there, the last episode I listened to was the INFP Black Values. So that one was so good. So I've just kind of jumped around. So,
mm-hmm.
Maybe about 3 or 4, but.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, tell me what you think about any of them. The last one you listened to was INFP Values, right? What do you think about that one? Are you an INFP, or do you know your Myers-Briggs type?
What I love about your podcast, and I just want to say, it's just such the universe, right? It's I wouldn't have known about INFP until I listened to that podcast. It wasn't in my daily life of okay, this is what I know, this is what I listen to, or this is people are talking about.
Yeah, I figured that. I was this whole INFP thing is going to be off a lot of people's radar. So just by putting it out, it may people want to find out what type they are.
Exactly, but but only obviously those who actually want to learn, so who are intrigued about the unknown. And that's definitely I heard it and I was okay, I can't listen to this podcast without knowing what INFP means, like it makes no sense. So I went and like researched it, and I'm totally that, but I feel like a lot of the details and descriptions that I read, and I read multiple sources, I mean, that's basically an empath, and like,
Correct.
and so I like, it's like, okay, yeah, of course I'm that, like, yeah, just put that in the other box of that, so, but Chantel, I made sure to remember her name.
Yeah.
She was freaking incredible, man. Like incredible, like, and I love how you kind of like got her together of like, no, like, love yourself, like, like, see yourself as strong and powerful, because that's what you are, and I just got like goosebumps listening to her, and the things that she was saying and her perspective and the things that she was going through, like I relate a lot, and I mean, I loved her. So, that was really cool. So, and I think that was kind of like, my favorite so far. And I had a chance to kind of listen to another episode, and it was like very beginning, but you were talking with another girl, and um I don't know. It kind of got a little like heated between you guys, and so
It's
that
probably
was,
Amani. It's probably Amani.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And I know like the situation come up with your mom and all of that, and so that was definitely an experience, and so I wanted to make a point, like when I spoke to you, that was something that intrigued me to reach out. Is just like seeing your growth from the very beginning of the podcast, and just even how things kind of got to you, or like that past trauma in your life had still affected you in the beginning,
Yeah.
and to hear you like in 2019 in July, and what you recorded the episode on Sunday, like just the stark difference, the stark difference, of like your growth is so apparent, and I just wanted to say that to you, so
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah,
I didn't mean for it to come out that way, but I'm glad it did. I was just, my thing was just be raw. Don't like, my thing was like, don't try to make yourself like, cause as empath, we're a fucking mess. Right. So I was
yeah,
like, don't come on here and try to make yourself, like sounding as if you're not in pain, because a lot of us are wounded healers. I'm trying to say that's how we start off as, I'm trying to say. And
yeah,
so
oh yeah,
I was just like, you know what? Like if I am hurt, I'm gonna be hurt. I'm trying to say, like,
yeah,
if I'm centered and I'm wise and a parent, then I'm gonna be that. But it's like, like my thing was just be myself. And a lot of this podcast was my own, partly it was my own healing, but also, since we're all one, helping to heal others, help to heal me too. You know what I'm trying to say?
yes, yes, I because I'm not gonna lie, like it was off-putting, and that I could, like,
Yeah. If people can get through my my cursing, you know what I'm trying to say, and
yeah, yeah,
my foul language, and the way that I was just, I'm very, INFPs we have very strong value systems. You know what I'm say, and
yes,
I was like, I'm a life path number 7. I'm just like razor sharp with my tongue, and I know that. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, if people can see the passion through all this rhetoric, you know what I'm saying, if they can
yeah,
understand like that I'm hurting, and that I like the world, I like the way the world is something that I'm feeling, and that my expression of it is just me releasing the pain of it from my chest. If they can get
yeah.
past that, then they can then if they continue the podcast, they'll see my evolution. They'll see my heart clear up. They'll see how somebody can go from one polarity to the higher mind. You know what I'm saying?
I do,
Yeah.
because as an empath, that is my life.
Yeah.
Like that is literally my life. Like I've had so many pivotal moments in my life to where now, like I'm 29, right?
Mhm.
Turned 29 in February. Like this is the freest and the happiest and the most stable I've ever been in my life. And I've had to fucking work hard. I've had to work so hard. It's nobody's victory but mine, you know?
Mhm.
And so there's a point in my life this year and my birthday, and you know, the universe is always on time for me, and I'm still learning and developing, why, but during my birthday was just a very volatile time in my life, and I was in this juxtaposition of like still being what everybody else wanted me to be or what I thought I needed to be for people, regarding like being, not speaking up, not speaking my truth, and fear, or to preserve other people's emotions, or to not be out of the norm, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and and so, but I've been bullied my whole life. And the people that had bullied me were my own family members, were my mom, were my brother, were my dad. They were the ones that beat me before the world could. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so, by the time I got to my birthday, I had, just kind of gone through a lot of things mentally of like not wanting to feel like a bitch, not wanting to feel like people are getting over on me, using me anymore, talking to me how they wanted to anymore, like, and taking my weakness or my kindness as weakness, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and eating me alive essentially. Because as an empath, like, my heart is pure. My heart is innocent. My heart wants no wrong to happen to anybody. Anybody. I would never wish wrong on anybody. I would never take anything from anybody. And so the cruelty of growing up as an empath is like, but nobody else seems to feel the same. Like, nobody else seems to feel the same about my feelings as I would about them. So,
Let me ask you,
you know,
what's your family structure like? Give me an
okay.
idea.
Yeah, yeah. So my mom's Panamanian. So she came to this country in the 70s, with her sister, and my dad's from Detroit, and so they met here in LA, and my dad was in the Navy and alcoholic, and there was like crazy, crazy, extremely unhealthy situation growing up, and there was a lot of violence, physical violence, and um, but so I'm the youngest, and I have two older brothers. My oldest brother is like 13 years older than me, and then my middle brother is 8.5. So I was technically an only child. Like, but when they were around, when I was really, really young, there was just a lot of anger, a lot of past like trauma. There was a lot of abuse with my mom growing up, and it's extremely long and complicated and dredging. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
like my essentially my mom was raised by her aunt from Panama, brought over here, and um, her mom essentially relinquished rights to my mom and her sister and gave her over to her aunt, um, based off of a past incident of where my grandmother had like, how can I say, my grandmother had essentially like been with my great aunt's husband, and so it was like a past like, I hate you, you bitch, and I'll never forgive you type, and so my great aunt essentially took it out on my mom and her sister, and completely like, they were raised in a concentration camp, like they there was no love, there was no kindness, there was no, like, it was just literally like, y'all are here to clean, and no, you cannot go outside, no, you cannot have friends, no, you can't have a life. And they were beat all the time, and so by the time my mom came up, like, how do you think she turned out? You know what I'm saying? She
Mhm.
had a kid by 16, drugs, all, just it, the whole list goes on, and so by the time she met my dad was already like, first gear of becoming an alcoholic, and it just took off from there. And it was insane, to the point that like, essentially this is how empaths are grown, right? Like,
Mhm.
through extremely traumatic
Trial of
experience,
fire. Yeah.
fire. And I mean, like, I was the adult, you know what I'm saying? Like, at certain moments to where, like, I remember, and I'll never forget in my life, of when, after an argument, like, I was maybe in the second grade, and my parents had just got done arguing, and my mom, she's Panamanian, so she's not only black, but she's got that, she's got that Latin fire. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like she, she would rip my dad's nuts right out of his chest. She knew how to break his manhood down. You know what I'm saying? And so I felt that I took that on, and so I remember going into the room, and seeing him crying and like putting my hand on his shoulder and like feeling all of it and trying to share that with him. I was in the freaking second grade, trying to comfort my dad, and it just, and my parents essentially were my worst enemies. They treated me the worst, out of anybody in my entire life. And they were cruel, but it's like, I today, like, like you can't stop me. You know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing nobody can do except kill me that could ever get me the way that my parents did, and so but obviously as an empath, like I'm grateful because I know every depth of emotion. I've surpassed like I've been able to. I've felt such depth at such a young age, that I just became wiser than my peers. I was just surpassing people, emotionally, like, and I knew it. I knew by the time I got into high school, like, and my peers and what everybody was normally doing, I just wasn't. I wasn't there. I was like, no, like, no, I'm not gonna do these things just because you say them, but essentially, like, we do, right? Because we don't know the difference, like, in the beginning,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's so kind of going back to like my birthday, my brother has kind of always been like the watcher and controller, and like my family essentially, like, they always think that they know better about you than you know about yourself, and like, let me tell you, and you don't need to be doing that. And it's like, and it's like at 29, like, I used to allow it, I used to really allow it. I used to let them dictate how I felt about myself. And there were times in my life where, like, I was extremely insecure, like I had no foundation for myself because I was so busy letting everybody else tell me what I was, like, and because people wanted to, because, I guess I mirrored that. I mirrored as if I needed that, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I just remember having that moment where I'm like, you know what, fuck you. Like, you have no right to tell me anything. You don't get to control my life. And it came out in such a way that it was like whoa, you know what I'm saying? Like, whoa, like, who is this person? Like,
Mhm.
she, like, whoa, calm down, like, you don't got to be so mean type thing, and it's like, so I completely feel you. I completely understand. And that's why I did hang in there, like, and because I don't
through
I
the
don't
through the
judge
through
you.
the through the through the podcast and hearing me fucking going off and
But
my
I
foul
get
language.
I get it
Yeah.
because it's like, we like
You
it's like
gotta, you
when you're
gotta
done,
fight for,
you're
you gotta fight,
done.
you gotta fight for your life, man. You gotta fight for your soul.
Yes,
Motherfuckers want your soul in this world, man.
yes,
They're
dude,
gunning for your soul. So if you don't have a fighting spirit, you're not gonna make it out here.
you're not
And
gonna make
that's what I
it.
was trying to convey to empaths. No, this is not some love and light shit. No, this is motherfuckers out here trying to fucking destroy your eternal soul. So yes,
Yeah,
you have to be a fucking warrior,
yeah,
right? So that's why I was like, I'm not gonna have some politically correct podcast. Fuck that. Go listen to a white
yeah.
person if you want to hear that shit, because they don't have the sickness in their families like we have.
No, okay. So, and I love that you bring that up because, and this is like, so I was driving over here, and these are thoughts that continually go through my head. Right, I'm born and raised in Los Angeles. I've lived in North Carolina. I've lived in Raleigh, and I've lived in New York. I lived in Brooklyn and in Manhattan. And so I've seen, like, I've seen some things. Like, I have a cousin in Miami, I have a cousin in Berkeley. So I've all the major metropolitan cities. I've been to Asheville, North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
been to Wilmington, like, I've been to Charlotte, South Carolina. I've seen things. I've traveled. I think what I was essentially like, what came into my head today was just like, I think that was one of the things that I had to really work through with my anger. Besides the trauma, the family, maternal trauma, all of that, like separate. Now
Mhm.
we're dealing with a whole separate, standard of trauma, and that's societal trauma. That's the prerequisite of being a black person is trauma, and
Correct.
so as growing up, my mom always put it in my head of like, you're not like those other Negroes, like, you got my blood, like, you're gonna do better, like, you're gonna do more, you're gonna,
This
like, she was,
a little Latino superiority complex.
yes, yes, yeah,
We
because
don't we haven't discussed that in this podcast before, but
no,
it definitely exists. I haven't experienced it because I was raised by the black side of my family, but it definitely
uh,
exists.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, my dad's a black Republican now, so we'll get into that a little later.
Mm.
But he was also in the race war in the '60s in Detroit. So, like, this is what I'm trying. Like, I'm trying to, paint a picture of like the the irony of my life.
Hmm.
Like, but so my mom didn't completely block us away, because you know I have cousins. I mean, we when we come here to America, we're still black. Okay, like that's never going to change. But there is a class system within black Americans, or black people. Period.
Hmm.
And so essentially, like, she made sure that we were able to get a different kind of education and see things differently, that I wasn't any different than any other child. That's how I was raised mentally, and so when I'm coming in, I didn't quote unquote see color, like blah blah blah, I didn't see color,
Hmm.
and I loved without those kind of boundaries. But essentially, I think the anger that I had to work through, sorry, I got a little off track,
It's
but
okay.
the anger that I had to work through was seeing the difference of the lifestyles, between white people and black people, and going to places like Skid Row, where I had a family member living, and going to see her, my mom bring her food, a little bit of money, seeing who the majority is down there, it would break my heart. It would break my heart, and I just felt myself, the older I got and the more that I saw, I just felt myself get so angry about, like, why do we live like this and they don't live like this? Why, like, why is it okay for us to accept this of ourselves while they have all these experiences of love and light and joy, what I'm saying? Like, and these free, spirits, but yet all we are is like held down by trauma, like,
Yeah,
and that,
you mean white people in terms of the love and light and things of that. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
You mean the people you were hanging around with prior to the time too.
exactly. So I went to majority white schools because my dad was in the Navy.
Yeah.
So I was kind of forced to, be around that, and but like I said, as a kid, I didn't know any different. Like, I didn't know, like, oh well, you're a white person, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, that's not how I thought,
No, I
because
understand. I have similar upbringing.
yeah, yeah. So I just think that, like, honestly, I just got to the point where I stopped being the victim. I could not accept the defeat and the control of others over me. I knew that it was either my spirit was going to live and rise and do what it was meant to do, because something kept me alive all those years. Something, that fire inside of me has been inside of me my entire life. And that's what's kept me forward, to continue to break through these barriers. And I think that at my 29th birthday, it was just one of those moments of like, either I'm going to stand up for myself and I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not going to let any fucking person on this earth tell me what I cannot do, or I'm going to succumb to the control. I'm going to succumb to the defeat.
Give me an
You know what I'm
example of
saying?
what the control looks like to you in your life, though. Is this because you were just talking about society, and before that you're talking about your family? Now, what exactly do you mean by that control? Give me an example.
Yeah. So I think the control of the judgment, of this hidden judgment that we have between other cultures, like white culture, what they think of us, what society thinks of somebody like me as a black woman. I think the control that, people think that they have to tell you how you should live your life, all of these boxes that you must check, like, Christian, all of these things, like, and I think the control of wanting to be a part of this group, this societal group, like social media, on like a general scale, right? Like feeling like I have to play like everyone else, or I have to be a part of that group, like I have to be wanted, I have to, like, do whatever it takes to be wanted and seen, that type of, you know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense?
It does. I mean, obviously, I'm a male and you're a female, and I think there's probably different pressures, maybe put on us. At the same time, you also grew up. Did you grow up mainly in LA?
Well, no. So I lived a little bit, like my dad was in the Navy, right? So we lived in different counties. So I
Traveled a
lived in,
lot, yeah.
yeah, I lived in San Diego County. I've lived in many cities in San
But
Diego.
a lot of those places are in California, though, right?
Yeah, Southern California, and I lived in Washington for a little bit as a kid. So yeah,
Okay, but mainly California.
yeah,
Okay, so I mean, I'm saying though, in a sense, like, like you grew up around white Californian women or
yeah,
girls. You know what I'm trying to say?
yeah,
And I mean, you live in LA, which is probably the narcissist capital of the world,
yeah,
correct?
yeah,
So I mean, I'm trying to relate with you. I can only imagine that you looking at yourself from the outside in, you're probably thinking like, this is something we always think as empaths, like, who am I? You know what I'm trying to say? And
yep.
you've probably known white girls more than you've known black women, right?
Oh yes,
So it's like, and you realize that there is obviously social distinctions and class distinctions, and even I'm assuming what you're trying to say is that, like, you want to be yourself, not based upon what your friends might think of you being the angry black girl, or, you know what I'm saying, or, or less like, because, for example, you listen to my podcast. You think I care about what white people would think about me? You think I could have white friends and have a podcast that I have? And
no,
not possible. But I'm being myself. I'm being my true, authentic self. Right? I'm here. I'm here serving my soul's will, which is God's will, and that's not necessarily to make people comfortable.
no,
You know what I'm trying to say? And so I'm saying,
yeah.
I'm assuming that you're going through that same process internally yourself. Is that's what you're trying to convey? No.
Well, I, what I am trying to convey is that I went through that. I went through that through, at when I turned 29, it
Mm-hmm.
was like just a very significant time for me of when I kind of, I'm trying to, paint a picture of me like walking through that. I walked through that, and I had essentially, people that were talking to me like that, like my brother, and who were actively trying to control, my decisions or my thoughts, or my responses. you know I think that symbolizes all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when somebody's insecure, it's not just one voice that brings them fear. It's many voices, it's many facets. You turn on the TV, you walk outside, you go to school. Like, there are many different facets of where, your insecurities can live. And so I think that symbolism of, you know standing up for myself to my brother was essentially me breaking through and say, you know what, like, I'm not playing this game with anybody. Like, I'm not doing this with anybody. Like, I will no longer not serve, like you said, like my soul. Like, I have to come first, because, and I think you had, mentioned a little earlier, is that, like, and I don't take it personally anymore, but it's, this world will suck you dry, if we're not aware of how to take care of ourselves, and how to put ourselves first, and self-care, and being nice to ourselves, and surrounding ourselves with people who love us and who are willing to go through the fight with us, you know what I'm saying, like
Mhm.
setting those type of values, like how you talk about last week, of like, you know all of those things better prepare you, right? Like, and so that's where I'm at right now, is like, okay, who are my friends? Like, who needs to go? like who, and essentially the most of the people that needed to go have already left, right? So, and now I'm thinking, okay, well, how can I educate myself to do more, to help others, to, use this strength, in the community, to not only like, and this has been on my heart a lot, of like, not being like, I don't want to be like those people, but how can I help those people? Because, like, how can I help my own community do better? You know what I'm saying? What resources do we need to live better lives? You know what I'm saying? And because I think what upsets me, and I'm mainly focusing on between the racial divide, I think what upsets me is that our people are suffering and nobody gives a shit.
Correct.
Like,
Correct.
black men are dying in the streets for little to no reason. We are being harassed for little to no reason, and and nobody gives a shit. And I think the entitlement of it all. It's I'm just tired of it, and I want to start. I want to start weaponizing with intelligence. I want to start weaponizing my community. Like, does that make sense?
I understand completely. I mean, that's kind of what this whole podcast is about: is arming people with the tools to first be able to free themselves, their minds and their hearts, understand they're not alone, to be comforted, and us really coming together as empaths, healing
Yes.
ourselves first, and then taking this healing and bringing it out into the Black community. That's
Yes.
what I'm trying to
So
do with like this whole retreat
yeah.
thing I'm trying to create. Like I'm trying to first get us together, and
Mhm.
then eventually I want to be able to travel to different states or different places where Black people are, and bring
Mhm.
this type of healing to them. You
Yes.
know what I'm trying to say?
I do, and that's why I hit you up, bro, because I'm
Yeah.
like, as soon as, because I went searching, and I don't know if it's the same thing. I mean, I would arguably say yes. Your answer is yes, but I don't know if you're like me, but I love knowledge. I love to learn. I have a hunger for it. I want to do more. I want to see more. You know what I'm saying? And that's only grown as my confidence has grown, right? Because now I believe that I can do it. And to hear you, and for me to have searched in empath, right, just the coincidence of it all, and I don't think it's coincidence at all. I think that it's exactly what it was meant to be,
Mhm.
but um typing in empath, seeing Black empath Ascension, do you know what that did to me? Like, do you know what that did to me? My brain was like, oh my God, like, this is amazing. Like, yes, like, I've been, because you know what I was already saying to myself
Go
is,
ahead.
where are people like me? Where are people like me? Who can I talk to? And they get this fucking fire in my chest, because essentially I've lived my entire life with, this fire on my own, and not having any, and constantly having to defend it, constantly being told I was weak and sensitive, all the typical stuff, like, and being seen as less than, and then to be at this place in my life now where I do see myself as a warrior. I'm not that same person anymore, because I understand what my gifts are. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to ask you, like, what was it like for you when you realized you were an empath and you embraced it? What was that like for you?
That's a good question. Boy, it's funny. Like anytime I hear the term empath, like when I hear it just throughout life, I just be like, hmm. It always kind of makes me stop and think a little bit, like, huh.
Mm.
But I was like, yeah, it's just a word. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to define myself by a word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's something about it. It resonated with me. You know what I'm saying? Just intuitively. But
Mhm.
I just, but I just ignore it and just, just keep going on and going through going through life. I'm trying to think how did I put it all together? I was thinking the same thing yesterday. How the fuck, like, Lucia, you have a podcast or Empath, and you speak about this shit all the time. How
Yes.
did you? You know what it was? I began to put pieces of the puzzle together. You know what I'm trying to say? I began to look at philosophy and its relation to empathy. You know what I'm trying to say? Or just love.
Mhm.
You know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say? I began to
Yep.
look at the story of Christ well, I came out of the Moore Science Temple of America, and we were taught the story of Christ esoterically. So
Mhm.
I was able to put this empath thing, you know what I'm say, and this, and through understanding, so I had a metaphysical understanding through the Kabbalah, listen to people like Bobby Hemmett, but then I had a little bit of psychological understanding through the Myers Briggs and things like that, and
Right.
then I had this kind of esoteric understanding of religion, and it was just kind of merging the two and finding people like me when I realized that INFPs and INFJs and et cetera, that they were empathic types. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm going to create a space for people like yourself and like myself that have this fire with no one to share it with, that want to do good in the world, but are sick of having their love being taken advantage of. You know what I'm trying to say? It's
Yeah.
like if people like us could come together, the things that we could accomplish, you know what I'm trying to say, would be remarkable. And I know that I have a mission to do in this world, and I knew I couldn't do it alone. You know what I'm trying to say? So I was
I do.
like, I'm putting out a motherfucking SOS. You know what I'm trying to say?
I got it,
I'm putting out an
man.
SOS, girl. I said, yo, I'm out here by myself. I'm out here struggling on this island. I know I cannot be alone. Somebody please fucking reply. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, and that's what I like. I laughed to myself because I'm like, I got your SOS. Like it's Batman.
Yeah.
I hear you. Like and this only revitalizes the fire, man. It only makes it stronger. It only makes it stronger for me because I know that all of these things, this physical experience that I've come to at this point to today, I me, I'm really good at just I visualize what I understand, right? So like I see myself in this car in a seatbelt. I didn't and all it is me waking up essentially, right? Like my eyes are closed and I wake up in this car with this seatbelt and the car is on autopilot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing all of these things, I'm feeling all of these things, but I'm not driving the car. And that's kind of what life feels like to me. And I think that only now at 29 can I say that being an empath is probably the best. Like I would have never asked for anything better because we feel we we feel so low. Like I felt actual, death, ego death. And then I felt this elation, like this elation is almost like what people have to go through, with like bipolar, it's like up and down. Like we know every, feeling in the book but I like I said it, for me to have gotten here, I didn't do this. I didn't do this. This is not me. I'm not that smart. Like I didn't, like who I think it's just all coming together to where I'm like, okay, God, you're funny. Like you're funny. Like
Yeah.
you've you've a lot like all the choices that we've made collectively have brought me here, and it's like this is honestly I really have a hard time assigning gender to God.
Okay.
So, like,
It's okay.
but like it's just kind of funny and like this satire of like, hello, meet your new friends. You guys have been essentially on the path to meet each other anyway your entire lives. Like bam.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So right now I'm in school trying to finish my bachelor's, and I'll be finishing in psychology. And this was like a fairly new thing for me that I wanted to pursue. I'd taken a really long time off from school because I just really didn't have the focus. And so I definitely understand 100% of saying, like I think at this time of my life, I feel like I have to prepare myself for whatever's coming. And and my soul is on, in a prepared place right now. Like, okay, what do I need to do to get myself together, to educate myself, to get myself in a position in society where I do have a say, where I do have some control, you know? And so, that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Do you, what about you?
My thing is like, I, I'm fortunate in the fact that, I'm in a sense doing in a sense psychological work, but it's more spiritual. You know, say like I do life coaching, and so I'm really just
Mhm.
growing that, and I guess it's similar work, but I work with empaths, so like
Wow.
we need this. There's certain things that I can that I couldn't do as a therapist. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah,
I don't even think you can teach meditation as a therapist. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So I mean, I know that's a huge part of what I do. Also, you definitely can't you definitely can't speak about esoteric philosophy and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And so my thing is like I have all the tools that I need. You know what I'm saying? My thing is just gathering like minds. You know what I'm saying? To come together and create a culture, create a society. You know what I'm trying to say, if you will, of people
Yeah,
that have like minds and like wills, so we can take those pure seeds and plant them other places. You know, to cultivate them within ourselves and then plant them other places too. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm curious to know more about your gifts though, because you said it's not about gifts, but you never really touched on it. So what exactly what are your gifts if you have to explain them?
yeah. So for me, I'm definitely in the newer phase of uh honing in on what those are. I'm, you know, this is a fairly new process for me.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know if loving unconditionally is a gift, but I definitely can talk to people and people feel really comfortable around me. And, um, you know, I have an open heart to where I just, I want people to be healed, right? Like, and so I will do what it takes to, you know, see the best in people. Like that's kind of like my thing, like seeing the glass half full. And I think essentially, like, right now I've kind of figured out, like, kind of like, if you've done it all your life and you like it, that's probably what you're meant to do, type of situation. Like, just because I've been through a lot in my past, and I'm kind of coming out of that trauma now. I've realized that I've wanted to be a dancer, and I've always had that movement inside of me. Um, and so I had talked to some people essentially over some time, and most recently I talked to someone that kind of repeated the same thing I've heard all my life. And I'd had a reading, and the lady told me that in my past life I did yogi work. Okay, so that I healed people through touch and movement. And essentially, what she told me, I had already kind of knew about myself. Like, I'd already knew that that the way that my body moves, I've had to I've had to move my body and connect to my body and my spirit and my soul and my emotions through my body, and there's healing in that for me. I feel the healing. I and so now more and more I take my personal time in, like, dancing. So I want to study psychology. And that is going to be my master's program essentially after I finish my undergrad. Um, and so I want to work and help people through that. And so people can start to connect back to their bodies and realize and understand, that the things that are happening to us, whether you've been molested, whether you've been in an abusive relationship, whether people have said really mean things to you, it doesn't matter, like pain is pain, and how if we don't learn how to release that outside of our bodies, outside of our minds, that it stays with us. It's like a glue, all of those memories, good and bad, they stay with us, and they're in our systems, and they cause tension, they cause, um and it's a whole manifestation that we carry, that trauma within our bodies. And so that's something that I want to get some education behind, so that I can functionally bring that to communities. And I actually have a girlfriend, and we talk about stuff like this, and she was always a really connective person, and I don't know if she's an empath. She's, but definitely got a lot of qualities, but she understands me, and we've been able to kind of like talk about different ideas, and we talk about bringing community healing centers. I don't even want to use the word healing, because it's just like white culture knows how to just like overuse stuff to where it's like you don't even want to use it anymore, because it's like it doesn't mean anything anymore. like,
I hear you saying, but I don't mind. I like the term healing, but I hear what you're saying in terms of them,
yeah.
like you feel like they've gentrified words and shit like that. I hear you.
Yes, because it's like on every building now, wellness, healing. And it's like, but yes,
It
healing
does,
is still,
I hear what you're saying, but yeah,
yeah,
we of all people need this, and so
yes,
I admire your passion, and I share your vision. So I'm with you.
yeah.
I'm
So
with you.
it's essentially like a community healing center where things like therapy should be government assisted, like community assisted. You should be able to go in and be able to schedule some time with a therapist and talk, like, period. Okay. And, um, trauma, or I don't want to use the word trauma, but because obviously that's such a wide, you know, uh,
Array.
aspect,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's an array of different things that fall underneath trauma. But um just a therapist, more therapists, but a community healing center, kind of like the YMCA, right, where you come in and it's, you can find what it is, mind, body, and spirit, to get help.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's yeah.
period.
I hear you. I hear you 100%. 100%. I just speaking to that sister Chantel, she was at a place called Kirapalo in Massachusetts, and I visited her as she was going because she does yoga, so I was visiting her to just visit her, just to meet some of the people I've talked to,
Yeah.
and essentially is it's some kind of school that it teaches lots of different modalities of healing, from yoga to meditation. They got people up there, that do tarot card readings. They got all. It's like an esoteric school. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
So
Yes,
that centers on healing. So it's like white people come together to support each other
they do.
in their their facilities of healing, and we need to begin to do the same thing. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
that is So I'm like, okay, I'm number one. My thing is just I have an ability to be able to see people for who they are. Like I can, when I meet somebody, I can sense people's nervous systems. You know what I'm saying? I can sense
Yeah.
people. I can even sense people. I can sense people's demons. Even, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with
Yeah.
that, so with that ability, it gives me an advantage to understand what type of people work well together, or what type of people should come on board into the type of work we're doing. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
So I knew that I have to bring people together, and so I mean that strength that I have is going to be able to make it so we can actually have a place of Black people coming together, and have it be harmonious and have it be productive.
Yes, it's very important, and I've learned that kind of at a young age, of like, you don't mix company. And that's for a reason, because sometimes our human minds can't surpass what actually should be, like sometimes we put ourselves before what's right, and I think that to me, like I was in church, and I'm going to connect this. I was in church. I was in church in North Carolina, but um and I was pretty hardcore about it. I became an evangelist, and the church was non-denominational, and essentially after 3 years, of just like completely giving my entire life and mind over to that. By the time the 3 years had passed, I was done. Like I was all used up and tired and spit back out. Just putting everybody before me, essentially, and not getting anything back. But what I realized, the flaw that we have, that the flaw that these churches have, um, and now I mean, I can't even just distinctly put that on the Christian church. It's Catholicism, like it's these church homes. But the main flaw that I've been able to see is the people. It's the people. It's the people that put themselves before what they're actually preaching. You know what I'm saying? It's not about the message anymore. And I think from that, and then obviously anything can happen once that, once you set aside your values and the doctrine, and the message of what you're here in this building for in the first place. Once you set that aside, it anything goes, right?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
we have
exactly. Your if you start with a foundation that's shaky, obviously, the rest is going to collapse. And so you're not
exactly,
they're not there to build strong souls. You know what I'm trying to say?
exactly,
They're there to manipulate and control and or make it so people take power outside of themselves, which is still a form of manipulation.
exactly. And so and it only can, and only now in 2019 are the wigs being snatched. Okay, only now have I seen people actually, the powerful, like we're all going down for the stuff we've done in the dark, and that's what I've seen for this year. But my point is that I've watched this my entire life, and even growing up and and seeing uh my parents and them saying, well, I am right just because I'm your parent, and it's like, no, you're not. Like, you're not right at all. Like, just because you're my parent doesn't mean you're right. And so I think, from that, I think I've just always been so strong willed to, like, with the people that I work with, they need to know what comes first. Like, period. Like, eh, there is no, like, I put myself first, or I get caught up and waved up in these situations. And like you said, I have a shaky foundation. Like, I could never start a business with somebody who has a shaky foundation. Like you said, I could see that. I could see it, like I could see how you conduct your life, how you talk to people, how you talk to yourself, like how you treat this relationship. Like, all of that is telling, you know what I'm saying? All of that tells on you of how you, what kind of person you
That's
are.
exactly it. And so that would transfer over into the business or whatever thing you're creating. So
Yeah,
that's why our empathy, once we learn how to get out of the victim role, which takes a while, and understand
yeah,
how to utilize our gifts, it can be such a strength because we can learn how to sift down people like that from our company and the things
yes,
we wish to bring and manifest in this world.
yes, because we're not here for the games that everybody else is getting caught up in. I
Yeah.
don't give a shit how many likes I have on my Instagram. And it took me a while to say that properly and not feel like I was sounding bitter. Okay, just being honest.
Mm.
I sounded like the person that was like, "Why are you guys doing that? That's so dumb." Like, like essentially the one that's trying to go against the crowd, and making it seem like, well, maybe it's just because you're not getting any attention. That's kind of how I felt like people saw me. Like, I'm just mad, because I can't do it like other people. And it's like, and so I would have these conversations with myself of like, well, how do you feel? Like, why are you so angry? Like that people are on their phones all the time now, that, like, why are you so mad? And it's like, well, because I live out here in reality. I've had no choice but to live out here in reality. I can't turn my feelings off. I can't turn off my awareness. I can't turn off my presence. Like, I can't turn off my connectivity.
Yeah.
That's who I am. And it's almost like having my nerves on the outside of my body, and they've been touched and frayed my entire life, to where now it's like, okay, I don't do that because that's not good for me. And I don't believe in that. And
Yeah.
I know the truth. And I know that this is just a phase. This is just a trend. And I know that everyone's going to hit the fucking wall.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. People are either feeding their hearts or feeding their egos.
Yes.
That's exactly it. And so they're feeding the egos. That's false. That's not gonna last forever. And
It's not
so
gonna lie.
that's
It's
exactly
just
it.
not.
That's exactly
And
it.
but who am I gonna say that to? Nobody. The only thing that I can do is get my ass in school and educate myself. And that's what I loved about the INFP when I did a little research on that, is like, that they kind of take a little while to know what their path is. And when they do, they're all in. You know what I'm saying? And they're focused and they're passionate about it. And that's what I feel is happening to myself, because honestly, we're not your idea, and this idea that I share with you is not going to come to life until we prepare ourselves in a way. Like, okay, so what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not comparing us to white people, but when you're looking at how they do things, right? They are supreme on knowledge, right? They overextend their minds because they lack in creativity and art, like art, like, how can I say, artistry, the way that black people, the way we're
Yeah,
born and
I think of it this way. I think of it this way, is that we are stronger than they are, but they understand that they're weaker. But because they're weaker, they band together better than we do.
yes, and they educate themselves better than we, like,
Yeah, well,
they
part of their education is just the fact that they're at the higher rung of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so they're not dealing with a lot of the shit we're dealing with emotionally. But also, but I'll say that with white people, it's like they, of course, they built they built the system, so it's obviously made to
yes,
benefit them. So I can't take credit away from us in that regard, but I'll say that yeah, they are weaker, and because of that, they understand the value of working together to become strong.
yes,
We, on the other
yes,
hand, we're busy. You're busy in the bottom rung trying to fight to see who can be, the head crab. You know what I'm trying to
yes,
say? Out of the
yes,
barrel, as opposed to
yes,
working together, so we can all find land. You know what I'm trying to say? So we can all get out of the barrel. You know?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and so I see everything on a very small scale, right? So I see things on a micro level. And so for me, when I'm watching my counterparts, I see how they create their family structures, how, their daily tasks, and preparing themselves, their certifications, and so I've taken that on as my own, to know, like, if we're going to get ahead, if we're going to achieve what we want to achieve, that means I I have to learn how to conduct a business. I have to learn how to, sign documents, do everything that it is that I need to do to get to earn the money, to open a business, to keep it running. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of the levels and the structure that we have to learn how to do well in order to get something like this off the ground. And people are doing it, right? People are starting businesses, people are changing the game, people are, like, you're already doing that, you're already in the game, you're already healing people, and so, like, for me, once I get my, education, and I start getting my, degrees and stuff in, like, even before that, like, I want to take some classes on the side of learning how to start a business, learning how to, how do you start a nonprofit? How do you, how do you gain certain types of income? Who, what other um, therapists or already educated Black folk within the community, like you said, how you're bringing us all together. Like, you know, as empaths, we all have to be armed and ready and educated and ready to uh, break through these barriers that these white people aren't used to us doing, and it's not about them, it's not about them at
Yeah,
all,
yeah, we're just saying because it is what it is, but we're focused on healing ourselves and healing our communities. It just is what it is in terms of they are the gatekeepers, and we are going through their schools to get the degrees to get the money that they control. So that's the only reason we're having to mention them.
Yeah, but I think what the most beautiful thing is like because white people are so technical, they're so technical, that's the word I wanted to use,
Mm.
that it's like, even if we play their game, even if we operate at their level, at their technical level, what we're providing to these people, what we're providing to the communities, to these urban communities, to these Black communities, to the less fortunate communities, what we're providing them is free. Love yourself, like breathe, close your eyes, listen to your mind, be still, you know kindness, like how we talk to each other, learning how to have conversations with ourselves, you know what I'm saying, like self-control, all of these things, like it's you can go on YouTube right now and learn how to meditate for free.
Mm-hmm.
But why aren't these things being penetrated in the community?
People
What?
have to see it, right? People have to see it
Right?
in order for them to be inspired to do it themselves, right? Because it gives them permission. That's the reason why I'm bringing empaths together first, right?
Yeah,
Because we need to be the example. Then we
exactly.
take that example out into the communities.
Exactly.
That's a thing. We can't, I wouldn't just bring us, just go, oh, hey, let's go heal. No, we need to come and heal ourselves first as
Yeah.
healers, right? The Bible says, physician, heal thyself,
Mm.
right? So we're going to heal ourselves first. When we understand ourselves and when we are harmonizing properly and we're running like a well-oiled machine, then we can take this healing out into the world. You know what I'm trying to say? So
Yeah.
that's it. We just got to be the example and inspire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an amazing, it's such a like fulfilling experience. It's rewarding. It's extremely rewarding because when you're following your heart and you know that you just want to like see people happy and free, because I know that when my community is happy and free, then I'll be happy and free. Like that's a reward, like that's a reward. And I can't wait. I can't wait um for things to shift, you know what I'm saying? Shift, because it's I think about my young self, right? Like my young self of who I was surrounded by, of, who was trying to play God in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't those people trying to control me that affected me positively, obviously, right? It was those moments that, those near death experiences, or meeting, strange people or strange happenings, something out of the norm that kind of told me that life was more than what I was seeing,
Yeah.
like I was able to paint a different picture than what I was being sold, and so what I've found, even in my own life, and like you said, coming together and healing each other, I don't know if you've ever felt this is the question, but like I find it very hard for people that don't get what I'm saying. I found it very hard to express what I feel, period, because there's so much every day, I find it really hard to communicate to people like that aren't empaths. And do you still find that happens to you, or?
I don't bother trying to.
Mm,
There's a phrase that I like to say that says that I learned from the Morgan Science Temple. It says, "It takes the light to see the light."
mm,
Right. So if they don't have the light within themselves, then they're like in the Christian church they say, you have to be reborn, right? So in
Yeah.
this world, this world's the lowest emanation. So you come into this world, you actually die spiritual. You die a spiritual death, and you have to become reawakened and come back online. Your soul has to come back online in this world. So all these people, they're actually asleep. They're not, like in the Matrix movie, they're not
Yeah.
awake. So there's nothing that you're going to say to them because you're trying to convey something intellectually when what they're looking for, what they're seeking is actually vibration, right?
Yeah.
So you need and we need to hold the vibrational space necessary to vibrate them to where they need to be, right? Because their nervous systems won't allow them the intellect to penetrate because they're too fear based.
And I think, that's kind of the craziest thing that I've experienced is just being different. Like I've had a friend who, who struggles with depression, and you know, I've had moments where I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm helping her because I feel too happy. Like I feel too happy to ever even try to connect to, you know what I'm saying? Like I felt like I was being too like bubbly and joyful, and my purpose was too strong to even connect to someone who was purposeless. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like how do you, and I'm not, this is rhetorical, but like in my mind during those moments it's like, how do I turn on that light for
Within
you?
them, no, you can't do that.
And I can't, no, no,
It's
no.
not.
And that's something that I had to realize,
Yeah.
right? It's like but it's that moment of like, I am this way, you're that way. How, and I would play it over and over in my head, like, man, like how do I turn that on? Wake up, wake up,
Yeah.
wake up,
Yeah.
like it's, yeah.
Yeah. So I have a podcast about that. It's called 5573 Keys to Alchemy. And basically, I'm gonna put it like we go through this process, and I use the example of the story of Christ, but basically we go through a process of knowledge, action, pain, introspection, and wisdom. So
Mm,
like she put it this way, some people during their like she's at the stage of prior introspection, you say, or pain and
yeah.
introspection. So like there's there's no like date necessarily, you're gonna say that she's meant to come out of that, and that's all dependent upon her, the strength of her will, the will of her soul. you know it's like all you can do is be an example and be the light through the things you're doing. And when they're ready to be, to have their basically what they're doing is they're trying to sync up their nervous system to the will of their soul. You know what I'm trying to say? Because again, their nervous system is programmed through the fear-based trauma that they've gone through, right?
Yep.
But their soul understands that it is eternal and has no limits, right? So that's the battle. So for me, it took me 10 years to come out of, and lots of meditation during that time to come out of my rut. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm,
Before I got on here and started spouting off philosophy.
mhm.
So I mean, it's there's no due date, but I'll say this, that that's a good analogy for the world in the work we're doing, because when they do begin to come out of it, we'll have systems set in place where they can begin to receive healing to further themselves along and make the transition smooth.
Yeah, I think I agree with all of that, and I've definitely come to conclusion for myself, and I think that's what essentially made me fight for myself even more, because I realized that I couldn't sacrifice what I believed, e- because of the people surrounding me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I like, I can't sacrifice what my soul is telling me is the truth. Like there is no doubt in the truth that my soul is telling me, but yet I the people around me don't understand me. Well, then, like you said, there is no more talking. Like, I stand alone, and
Well,
I've always stood
yeah. Well,
alone. But
you're not alone anymore.
exactly, yeah,
You're good. I
yeah.
mean, listen, as you're speaking and talking about like somatic issues and things like that, I was thinking, boy, I'd like to connect you to some great black INFJ therapists that I spoke to on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Because yeah, like there are people that you know like starting nonprofits. There are Black empaths in my group that have done that. You know what I'm saying? So like, and that some of them have expressed interest to coming on the retreat. You know, so it's like this is like you're yeah you're in a good place. You're in a good space. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we just need to keep linking together. You know what I'm trying to say, because you know we are out here feeling like isolated. You know what I'm trying to say, these little beacons of light with no one else to see us. You know what I'm trying to say,
yeah.
these lighthouses for the blind. You know what I'm trying to say, but
Yes.
it's you know it's time we come together. You know what I'm trying to say, to shine our light on each other and help each other progress. You know, so
Yeah, totally. I just I just I really appreciate like it just feels good, like the fact that I even connected to you and your response back. I would definitely want to be a part of anything that you guys do as far as like I'm not sure if I can make it this year, but to North Carolina, but I'm actually coming in December, but you're having it in
September,
September.
yeah,
So but even connecting with people on through email or through social media, like there's just even being aware that that person is out there.
yeah. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add you to a certain group where we come. Like,
Nice.
we're gonna have different podcasts, and just the kind of group podcast. So you can, it's kind of a group for people that want to come on the retreat. If not this year, then other years, right? So I'm gonna add you to that, and so then our next get together, you can come on and just chat and just relate. I'm gonna say, because there are so many sisters and brothers that share your experience and have the similar mindset to you.
Yeah, it's and it's incredible. You know what I see is similar. What I love about connecting to others like me is that we don't have hangups. There is nothing in the way of us loving. There is nothing in the way of us, being ourselves. And like you said, how people are blinded by the experiences on in this physical world and their trauma and the things that have happened to them, and they can't see beyond.
Mhm.
They can't see beyond what's in front of them. And it's like to essentially like talk with people that feel that. I think sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
It's okay. I get you, but you're just trying to convey joy and elation and a sense of belonging. And I'm so glad that you are experiencing that and can experience that more. Hopefully, like God, like I just like, like we want to connect. You know what I'm saying? Like
You've done
we,
that, and you understand.
yeah,
Even though I
I get
can't
it.
really fully communicate that right now,
Yeah,
and there has been a time in my life where the trauma was so bad that I could not formulate like proper sentences grammatically.
yeah,
I could not. I could not express myself. Like I would be surrounded by people, and that's why people felt comfortable, taking control over my will, because I could not communicate myself emotionally because I was so dead inside. Like I was so in pain. Like and I felt like a shriveled little mushroom. You know what I'm saying? And this world gives no shit. This world does not care, about any of that. And so I think my point is that like it makes having experienced being in church and being under a certain frame of mind control, I think, and it's obviously not every single church, I'm not generalizing, but
mm-hmm.
for the most part the image is fucked up, like
Mm-hmm.
because even those moments as we talk about Jesus, and I had that moment of like this year of where I took a lot of things, and that's another thing I liked about what Chantel said, is that you take certain experiences, positive experiences from those moments, and me being in church, I took some things in the Bible. I took Jesus's image without anything else. I didn't see Jesus as a whole. I saw him as the man, and 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 I'm like, Jesus was an empath. like
Mm-hmm.
like he came to this world and he said, forget your jewelry, forget your coolness, forget you being all smart. thinking you know everything, thinking you know how to run everybody, think you could tell everybody, like forget all that other shit. These people are hungry. Okay? These people need clothes. They need shelter. They need water. These are basic things. Basic things. And you guys have all these reasons as to why the poorest and the smallest in your community, in your cities, can't receive the basic needs. And then to live in a world where that is happening, to where people have all this shit, all these things that they find to distract them. You know what I'm saying? Like we are fucking distracted. Okay, like it is out of control. We don't even have to see the truth anymore. The truth is optional. And to see that people are starving, you go down a Skid Row and you see people geeking out, people with no shoes, sleeping on the, and now in LA it's getting, now that it's getting more gentrified, there's more homelessness. I'm sure you've heard it, like and it's like to actually see it happening today. And then and then I have people in my life who are like, oh, but he doesn't call me, or he does this on Instagram, or Instagram this, like, it disgusts me. It disgusts me deep in my soul that I'm like, that the very thing that Jesus went through is happening today, and we don't even fucking see it. We don't even fucking see it.
Yeah.
Like, like, damn, we can't be this dumb.
No, yeah, no. That's exactly why we hear the story, because it's conveying something that we all have to go through as empaths. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes. Yes,
Yep.
but that's why I know I'm a superhero. That's why
Bingo.
I know I'm a fucking superhero, because like, why do I see it and you can't?
Bingo.
Okay, I'm meant to see it for a reason. Okay, like, let me go do that then. Let me go focus on that. Like, because I can't play out here with y'all, because this is not life. This is not real.
Yeah.
Like, our oceans are dying. Like like turtles are getting freaking choked and stabbed in their own natural habitat. Like, like, are you joking? I don't have time for Snapchat. I don't have time for Facebook. I don't have time for like those low sit that to me, that's, obviously I have to have like friends, like I have to connect to people and like do fun stuff, like, but there was a period in my life where I was so consumed with that anger, to where I started drinking. Like, I started drinking and I became a problem drinker, and an alcoholic. It developed into a sickness, to hide those emotions, to hide what was happening to me on the inside, because like you said, like, I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't express myself, and so um I think, even learning about empaths in a deeper way, essentially a lot of us empaths, we fall victim to addictions,
Yep.
you know, because we're so consumed by this world being so fucked up that it's like the only way we can
Cope.
step outside ourselves, could exist,
Yeah.
and I think after I got through that recovery from my alcoholism, like, and and and, and I was reminded the value I needed to place on my own life, and that the only person, the only thing, the only entity that could carry me forward is God. That's when I started to get it. But I had to, like you said, I had to die. When I consumed that alcohol and I took on those spirits, and those spirits lived inside of my mind, to where I was going insane. I, I I died to everything. I died to everything that I thought was valuable at one point, even people's opinions. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I wanted to share that with you, and hopefully, somebody will relate to that, because I'm not ashamed anymore, and So I just I get so like carried off.
That's
Sorry.
good. No, I'm glad you finally. I was like waiting, like there's something she's not saying. There's something that she needs to get off her chest. But I'm glad you finally got it out. You know, because you're right. There is someone that needs to hear it. I know. I can think of one sister right now. You know, I was speaking to her. I've had her on the podcast. I didn't know that she struggled with alcoholism. I didn't know that. You know, we got to talking. She called me up one day after the Fourth of July, and you know, it was after the Fourth of July. I figured people might have alcohol still hanging around. So I was like, okay, she's drunk, and I'm like, okay, cool. You know, we spoke for hours. You know, until the sun came up. The
Hmm.
next day, she calls me up drunk again. I'm like,
Yeah.
uh, like,
Yeah.
like you're drunk again. She's like, yeah. I'm like how? She's like, how? I'm like, how often do you drink? She's like, pretty much every night. I'm like, oh, I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's yeah, we can't. No, you can't. No, we can't. No, we can't do this. You can't. You know, like I was like, we can't be doing this. Like, no, like
Uh,
I had to let her know that like this. No, that's not okay. I'm not. That's like you need to show that you can love yourself. You know what I'm trying to say and heal yourself to be able to heal others. You know what I'm trying to say because she wanted to come on the
yeah.
retreat. I was like, no, that's not. You can't. This is not. You need to bring. You need to. This is for people that are proven healers of themselves first. You know what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say. So
Yeah. That's a hard one, man,
yeah.
because I had to I I mean, my dad was an alcoholic, right?
Mhm.
So, I was raised in that type of environment where the evil existed. Okay. I saw the evil from my parents. Okay. I didn't see, what and even kids today, they freaking trigger me, man, because I'm like I lived with it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't live with, normal parents. Like, so like so like but the alcohol in the beginning, it was great. It was great. Well, I can turn this off. Great. And I have a personality to where I met a lot of people. I partied a lot. Okay. I partied in high school until like, I mean, to my, it was excessive. And of course I found people like that. This is the world we live in. I heard Cardi B say the other day, about my, vagina essentially because that's what y'all want to hear. Like it sells. You know what I'm saying? And so I did what everybody else wanted to do. I drank until I freaking got crazy. And it wasn't until I was alone in my adult life that I realized that I have a fucking problem. I have a problem because I couldn't go out into the world with any confidence because everything that had ever happened to me, the alcohol is funny like that. In the beginning, yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Ooh. But then it turns on you. It turns on you and before you know it, it uses everything that you were trying to run away from against you. And then it leaves you in the room with just you and your fear. And then you can't escape it, and then you're consumed by it, and then essentially that's who you think you are, is your fear and your anger, because nobody wants to be sad. And that's the thing, like I had only kind of heard this like last year of like hurt people, right? Oh
Mhm.
my god, like wow, what a concept. But it's like, yeah. Like, see, in my alcoholism, I turned angry because I was beat as a child and I was abused as a child. That has to go somewhere. That's not gonna just go away. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever happened to me, I'm gonna return it. And if I didn't know any better, obviously. So I returned the favor to other people in my life using anger, using control, using manipulation, using abuse towards other people. And the alcohol was only a catalyst to like volumize those things. And so and once I realized that I was hurting people, and I was hurting people and it felt good. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like it was a tailspin all the way to the bottom until I realized people had to cut me out of their life. And on the deep, deep inside of it all, I knew I wasn't that person. I knew I wasn't that person. Like, my heart is pure. My heart is kind. Like, all I want is love. Why am I acting like an ass? Why am I so angry? Why do I need this alcohol? And it wasn't until, you know, I'm married. Um, and so at this time I was married to my husband. We were married about 2, 3 years at this point. And, something had happened between us to where I was drunk and I put my hands on him and, blacked out essentially. And, we separated. He couldn't do it anymore. Like, and to him, it was like, I don't care how nice you are. I don't care how nice you were. like, like, I can't accept this. And I had no idea what I couldn't get out. I couldn't get out. And it wasn't until that part of my life ended to where I had no job, I had no place to live, I had no car, I had no money, my hair was falling out. I had nothing. I had nothing. It was all stripped away. And at the same time, I didn't even feel I my soul wasn't even I didn't even like myself enough to think I could do any better. And that's a shitty place to be. But yet a lot of people are there. That's kind of where a lot of people are. They just know how to smile and put a face on. And as an empath, I know that's true because I see people. I see people in the grocery store. I see people at work. I see people at festivals. Like I had to stop going to large festivals and things like that because it was so intense. People are sad and people are consumed, and for that taste of what I felt, and thank God, you know, I found a place where I was able to find like-minded people that that had found freedom from the disease, and when you there's nothing better than that awakening. Like, there's nothing better than that awakening when you finally get it, your purpose. You know, there's nothing better. It's the light turns on, and your soul is refilled. And I'm grateful for that. And today, like I'm a year and 10 months sober, and that's a lot for me. That's my victory. And I still go to parties. I hang out with my friends. They drink or whatever. But you know what? I'm not God. I'm not gonna sit up here and try to tell nobody how else to live their life. If it's affecting me, then yeah, whoa. But I think. But if somebody is really looking for help, I want to help because I know that you're for real about like you're awake to what's happening to you, and you're ready to change. But um there's this quote that I always keep near and dear to my heart. It's only after I destroyed myself did I really know who I was, you know? And that resonates so much with me because um like love is not perfect. We're not supposed to be perfect. And I and so I'm rambling, but man, like
No, I
that's
hear you. I hear you. I'm
yeah,
just soaking it all up, and I know that you're speaking from your soul right now. So I was like, wow. I'm just in awe of your struggle and your honesty and your strength.
yeah. I just one day I'm so grateful for this conversation, man. This is very healing to me, and I just want to be able to one day I want to give it back because I think right now I'm just like, okay, I got too much going on in me that I need to give it back. And so that is my focus right now. that is where I'm going to invest my energy, is how do I give this back to people who need it. I've spoken in places, I've spoken in funerals, and I've had people come up to me and say, you speak like you should be a speaker, like you're a great speaker. And it's like, and I hear these things and I take them in and I put them, in my heart, and I don't forget them, because that's God. That's God saying, okay, go that direction. Okay, that's for you. Okay, you see, you like that? You see how you feel? Stick with that. Like
Mhm.
those are messages to me. And I've learned how to see messages in the universe, in other people, through like the
Yeah,
universe
they say
yeah.
they say God speaks to man through man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Period. Whether it's a good talk or not,
Hmm.
it's still a message.
Hmm.
Still a message. And I just, I think where all of the intensity comes from, and I know this. I
Hmm.
know you understand.
Hmm.
I know that all of this intensity is like, I've only just awakened. Really. I've only really just started. Like, really. Because I've gone through 28 years of fucking craziness. And I only now am I like, all right, all right, okay. I was told I would have a later career, a later successful career. And so I'm like, okay, all right. like, like I'm still working out all the shit that's happened to me. Yes, it's still there. I can feel it. When I wake up in the morning, I start listening to affirmations. I journal. I'm working on my consistency of meditation. Like I'm for me, because this isn't a race. And whatever timing God has, I used to really beat myself up about that, like, oh, I'm not ready, or they're there, but I'm not there, you know, and it was just another thing to feel ashamed about. And
Hmm.
it's like now I'm like, forget that. Whatever God has for me on the time that He has for me, it'll be there.
Hmm.
No doubt. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to lift a finger. I mean, like, yes, I have to do my own soul work. I have to make my own choices on my daily life and my daily thought. But on the grand scheme of things, I have no control. The only thing I have to take care of is me. And God's got the rest.
Hmm.
And only now am I like, okay, all right, I can do this. Don't worry, just keep going forward. Don't worry about all this other stuff. What happened to you? Yes, it happened to you. I go to therapy to work out what's happened with me, like to talk about those things, and man, like, you want to talk about like being right on time. Like, I was looking for a therapist, and but I didn't want just any therapist, right? There's a criteria, right, of what we talked about before, our values.
Hmm.
Like, you can't just be messing with anybody and talking to anybody about your real shit. And I've made a mistake of doing that before, to where I've learned my lesson. And it just so happened, like, this lady wasn't on this website before, but it's for it's the website's called Therapy for Black Girls. And I've been on this website before, and and but this time I was looking and searching, went all the way to the end of the page. I'm looking at people's faces, their eyes, their criteria, and why the last person on the last page, it's she had it in her, like, the description box or whatever. It says works with highly sensitive people. And I'm like, see, this is God. Like, the only person on the website. Like, and she's my therapist now.
Beautiful.
And like, I talked to her and I'm like, she gets it. She gets it to the level, the how vulnerable we are, how exposed we constantly are, how raw we are. And the way she talks to me, she encourages, and she makes that part of my emotion safe. She makes me feel safe. And it's like, Like, yes, like that's what I need in my life to grow. Like, period. I'm not going to add to my death. Not anymore. So I just it's incredible, man.
I'm so
Thanks.
I'm so I'm soaking this all up. Oh, oh, that was good. That was good. That was good for both of us.
Yeah,
That was good. That was
we're
good.
gonna do it. We're gonna do it. I believe in you. You have an ally out here. And I think that's you asked me a long time ago, like what my gifts is. Like I encourage people. Like I'm on your side. If I love you and we connect, I'm your friend for life. Like that's it. Like
I could use some friends.
no, seriously, like I'm a friend for like I just am that person. I had and the more I grow is the more that I own that shit. Because I had a friend today, drama. Life is always drama if we allow it.
Hmm.
And it's been 5 years. We used to live together, work together, you know, like it was a lot. And party together. And 5 years, I don't drink anymore. I'm confident about not drinking anymore, but I still, I'm strong enough to have my friends and my relationships and they don't, challenge my values. But she moved away. We were texting today, her whole life has completely changed, than when I met her in 2015. And so yeah, 4 years. Um, and she said to me today, like, man, like you're the whole like you've always been there for me. Like essentially, like I appreciate you. Like, wow. And I'm like, you know what? I just want to be there for the people that I love. That's all. I'm not that's it.
Yeah.
Like that's it. So friend for life, man. Like and once we start really getting the nitty gritty and God starts really moving things on a larger scale, like it's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be incredible and it'll be right on time.
I'm glad to hear that because, boy, I've just been having like lots of, shit. I go through self doubt too. Not even self doubt. It's not self doubt because I don't doubt myself. I know I'm gonna be a superhero no matter what. You know what I'm trying to say? But it's like, do people see my fucking vision? You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Do people understand the importance of what the fuck I am and we're doing here? You know what I'm trying to say? Do you understand the potential that this has for future generations
Yeah,
of people like us? What we're establishing here by speaking about the things we speak about. You know what I'm trying to say? And
I do.
doing the things that we're looking to do. Like we're like, we're like the damn black 1% up here. You know what I'm trying to say? Like
Yeah,
there's not a lot of people that understand, but in the other role in terms of the white 1% takes, we're trying to give. You know what I'm trying to say?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
It's I understand about like hello, is anybody out there? Like do you see what I see? And and essentially the same question. Like how you answered my question. It that's the funny thing about my personality as well, and it sounds like you kind of go through the same thing of like we answer our own questions. Like we already know the answers to what we're saying, but we're still allowing ourselves to kind of go through the mode of thought where like these are it's almost like we're reaching out to the universe,
Yeah,
like
it's scary. It's scary because I'm
yeah,
like, hold on, are you really like? I can see you're an empathetic person, but I'm like, I've the thing is, we've just been through so many shitty fucking relationships and so many shitty people that it's like, hold on, does he really understand the depth of my compassion, or she or she should I say, you're trying to say, does she really understand like what I'm trying to do? Like, like this is not just a lot of black people. It's like I feel that sometimes like they say things to people like because they want it, or just people in general. They say things to you just to make you to appease you, or
Mm,
just to not make you feel bad. But like when it comes down to, are you willing to put this into action now? You know what I'm trying to
mhm.
say? Then it's like they're not really about that. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference, and I've learned how to watch people like that,
Yeah.
and I think that's why I've had so many friends come and go in my life,
Hmm.
right? Like, and there was one relationship that really meant a lot to me, and it's still there. There's still some residue, of like pain there, of like, oh, I miss her
Hmm.
deeply, and I also, but at the same time, I realized that I love everyone deeply, and so whenever it doesn't work out, it's all like I'm learning to maturely move on. Like, it's okay, and but there was a one friend that I had last year. I, you know, she was there when I had gone through the whole alcoholism thing and the recovery, and and we just were inseparable, because we were relating on the same thing, and this is just an example, not on the scale of what we're talking about, a complete life change, but essentially, a year had almost passed, and I'm still trying to keep up with her, and I realized I was the only one really trying, like, and I was the only one genuinely really trying.
Yeah.
But she would respond, and she'd be nice, and and ask questions, and so it was enough to make me still come back, and and surviving off of the memories, of what we had. And so there was this moment where I'm like, I'm the one that's like, I have all these ideas, right? Like, oh my god, like, okay, we're best friends, all right, I have all these ideas, let's do all of them. Like, and I was like, let's go to Bali, like, because I had a lady that came to me and told me, white lady, and her daughter had just moved to Bali. She's getting ready to move to Bali and open a wellness center, and that just scares the hell out of me, because I'm like, leave those people alone. Like, don't go over there freaking sucking up all their lands, put the Starbucks, please. Whoa.
Mm.
But the wellness center is a good thing, but also because it's cheap over there for an American to open a wellness center as
Mm.
well. But anyway, I was like, yes, let's go to Bali. Like, oh my God, like, it's so cheap and it's beautiful. We can ride elephants. And I'm like, I didn't really have anybody at the time that, like, I connected with, because I was kind of resurfacing back to life. And I was like telling her, inviting her and all of that. And essentially, she just kind of ghosted me one day, just ghosted me. And it hurt. I cried about it, I cried about it. And I think those moments, it's like I have to ask myself, like, am I too much? Like, am I doing too much? Like, am I doing too much? Are my dreams too big? Like, are my wants too high? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
I'm
hear you.
like,
Yeah. For me, I
yeah.
was thinking to myself like, having the retreat necessarily wasn't even my idea, but it was someone else's idea that I was like, yeah, seems like a good idea that I would like to start to do, because I feel like I'm being called to heal. So I was like,
Mhm.
but then it's like, I was thinking to myself like, is this how can I put it? Is this me wanting to neglect myself by going to do work to heal others, or is this some kind of codependency thing you're trying to say, like,
Mhm.
where I can't do things without others? And I think, I
Mm.
had to think about that, like,
Mm. Yeah.
and I really don't think that's the case. I really think what it is that, like, I live my life isolated from people, and I think a lot of us do. You know what I'm trying to say? And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think we should live like that. You know what I'm trying to say? Especially like, I'm not living my life isolated due to any kind of, um, you know, um, no kind of addiction type things. You know what I'm saying? No offense to
Right.
you, what I'm saying, but I've never come out of that type of thing. But I
Right.
have experienced a shit ton of trauma. You know what I'm saying? And I have experienced a shit ton of pain,
Yeah.
and I have issues with trust and faith in people, because I've had that shattered, especially by my own family, so many times.
Yeah.
So it's like, creating a space for people like that is a good thing. But the thing at the same time is like, I can't. It's hard for me sometimes when I realize that, I cannot control people seeing the importance of my vision.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So it's like,
But that is a good place to be, to accept acceptance.
yeah.
That is, and I'm look, we're all learning every day.
Mhm. Yeah.
I am will forever be the student, and that's one thing that I told myself at a certain point in my life, because I had come from quote unquote loserdom, like, and obviously like I had come from a very low place that I always told myself I would be humble, because now that I'm blossoming out of my cocoon, everybody's like, "Oh, you're beautiful. Oh my God, you're light. Oh my God, you're so nice." Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I don't let that shit go to my head, because you don't know all of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't just wake up like this. All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
you know, but essentially like the acceptance, and that's why I said God plays this like satirical, like funny freaking dark black mirror joke. It's like a freaking funny sad joke, because it's like this we have to accept what is, and we have to accept like that we need people, but we need to be us first.
Mhm.
We have to be on the island. We have to learn to, it's like what's his name, like Castaway.
Yeah.
Eventually he got off that island, but he had to get to the island first, and to watch the transition of his character to from fear, what the fuck, like, I'm away from everything that I've known, what the fuck, I'm going to die here, I'm going, like, he was stripped. And then when he came back, he was a whole person. A whole person. Like, it's almost because I see this quote on Instagram, it's like, and I'm gonna fuck it up, but from memory, it's like, it's from memory, it's like we have to let go of these attachments in order to be liberated. We just have to, because like you said, like we all know as empaths, this is not our world.
Not at
This is
home.
not
Yeah.
this is not our world.
Yeah.
I refuse to accept that this is the paradise. This just ain't it. you
Yeah.
know the piece of it is inside of us, and I think that's where our light comes from, that is the piece of paradise. And like you said, our existence should be an example to others of what a paradise should feel like,
Yeah.
but I mean,
That place where we come from. We're expressing the love of the place we come from.
exactly,
Yeah.
because if I don't accept that people are not always going to be good, and I cannot control them, then I allow people to be whoever the hell they are. The choice that I have is whether I want to be around you or not. But there's so many people living under the control of, well, I have to be around this person because I need them. I have to deal with this because I don't have anything else. You know what I'm saying? I see more of that than, you know what? I'm just, even if I have to be alone, I'm going to be happy. That is something, that I admire, of
Mhm.
like, you know what? I'd rather be alone than with a man who cheats on me. Like, I'd, and I've heard you say last week, I'd rather walk away from these family members than continue to be beat down by them. And that exists on so many levels, right? And like, man, I loved that conversation last week. I know I keep bringing it up, but it's like,
I was like, this might be my last podcast, son, because this shit, we just brought everything home with that one. I was like, it was perfect. It was perfect.
it was so good.
Yeah.
Were you gonna?
I'm just glad that you connected with this. I was like, I knew her story was going to touch a lot of people. So I was fucking pleased to put that shit out. You know what I'm saying? To me, it just brought like my whole podcast. It just kind of brought it all. Like, it just kind of brought it, like, I don't know, it just kind of encapsulated all the shit that I've gone through. Cause a lot of my podcast, honestly, is just me fucking just getting out all the shit that I've gone through. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
For people to relate. And it was like, for me, it just kind of validated a lot of the things that I had been saying. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's like I don't have to. It's like the way she said it is it just kind of encapsulated everything I said. It's just it was closure for her, but it was also closure for me too. You know what I'm trying to say?
And closure for me.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like I said in the beginning, I've been through that.
Mhm.
Like I've like and the saddest thing, like I love my dad, right? Like just innately. He's my father, but he's done some fucked up things to me, you know, to where I remember one time like I put this TV like I was living with him, I was in college. It was like 2021. I, you know, and I'm sure you've already gathered, but I used to have a very frail personality, very meek personality, and I would let people, say stuff to me and laugh it off, and I would, and so I had this TV and we were living in my family member's house or whatever. And so I put this TV on this dresser. The furniture belonged to the person who owned the home, which is our family member. But my dad came down and um I guess I didn't put a blanket under the TV before I put it on the dresser. And he comes down, he was like, why would you do this? He's like, you don't have my he was like, you have your mom's looks, but you don't have my brains. And you know, like and a different time, and that's just specifically what I thought, that affects my insecurity as far as being a young girl and what I think about myself and my brain and whether I'm smart, right? My dad's telling me I'm not smart, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And, I had another time where my brother, he was younger, where he was like, well, you don't look like Carmen Electra. Like you're never gonna look like somebody like Carmen Electra or Pamela Anderson, And it's like I was young and impressionable, and so I'm, thank God, like what the hell? Nobody looks like Pamela Anderson. Like, come on, like who the fuck's like? Are you joking? Like, who cares? But obviously, as a young person, you're impressionable, But the only person I really had to separate myself from was my dad because he had hurt me in so many ways that it wasn't being around him reminds me, and even to this day, like, I would tell like if I told him that I was doing psychology because before it was communications, and the last time when I told him that I was going to school for communications, he was like, "Why don't you do something for finance? Why are you? That's like foolery. What are you doing? You're wasting your time. Why don't you go to school for computer science?" And it's like that's been him my entire life. I've never fucking measured up, never, and I never will. I never will. But what I've realized as an adult, as a 29-year-old woman, is that that man is sad, and he will always be sad. And and
Correct.
and 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 there is nothing, and I can't save his sadness because he's consumed by it. He's so consumed that he'd rather hurt his only child, the only person that he has left in this world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he does that to himself every fucking day.
Yeah.
And I know what type of sorrow. He's probably an empath.
He's
He's a
just
highly
he's suppressing it. He's suppressing it.
suppressing
Obviously
it.
we get it. We get it from our parents. You know, to say they
Yes,
just suppress it. And there's
yes.
a podcast I had. It's a good one to listen to because the sister is an empath and a therapist, and the brother is an empath and a therapist. So and they're both
Oh, wow,
black. And you
incredible.
need to listen to this. It's called spouse.
Yes.
It's called spouseification, which
Oh,
is
cool. Okay.
similar to parentification, which kind of you probably experienced some of those to a degree. But basically, what the brother and the sister are saying is that there is something called it's a psychological term, but it's called homeostasis in a family.
Yeah.
And so it's like they gave the example of like setting the AC to a certain temperature, right? So
Mhm.
let's say this temperature is 74, and they want to keep it at that homeostasis. This is kind of in an emotional, spiritual, emotional norm, right, or vibration.
Yes.
As you begin to break out of that norm and elevate yourself, right, it changes the temperature, and they've been
Yes.
comfortable in that temperature, and so he's trying to bring you down to keep the homeostasis of the psycho spiritual family that they've created for himself, the way it is. I'm going to say because he knows that if you begin to evolve, then he realizes that he sees himself in a reflection through you. That means that he's neglected himself, and he'll have to face that truth when he sees his daughter blossom. And so he's afraid to see himself in you.
it, yes, and I think it's more, and the reason why it's been easier for me to say, you know what, the limited contact, I'm not going to call you, is because he knows, I know, he knows, and he's accepted it. He's accepted it. You know, he voted for Trump. He'll vote for Trump next year. He hates us commies, us
A black
towelheads.
guy vote for Trump? Oh
Yes,
boy, he's that
he
dude.
he's full throttle. You know Key and Peele, the
Mm-hmm.
episode of the Black Republican. That's my daddy. That's my daddy. But my daddy also grew up in Detroit, and like I said, you know, some time ago, that he was involved in the race riot. Got kicked out of 2 high schools for fighting white people with bricks. My granddad owned 3 to 4 laundromats. I think it was 3 or 4. I don't remember, but he owned 3 or 4 laundromats in Detroit. Owned his own business, multiple businesses, and was thriving in Detroit. My granddad is the only reason I still have faith in men. The only reason, because that was the one man in this entire world who showed me through a man's through a man's physical body of what love truly meant. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about just, oh, I love you, girl, but like that deep soul family love, you know, like that love that I still carry within my soul. He's still with me, you know. And so to see my dad be who he is, it's I don't accept that.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to change and you don't want to grow, you know, you think, you know, you're right, you know, you voting for Trump is right, okay, you know, I should do computer science, like, you don't want to see me, then then you won't see me. I won't do this anymore with you. I refuse. You know, the people that are still in my life, and I've kind of grown into this, but like the people that are still in my life, they've had to accept who I've become, because I cannot stay quiet any longer. And if you're around me, I cannot stay quiet any longer, because I must speak the truth. If you don't like my truth, then you can get the fuck away from me. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I must speak the truth. This is my voice. People fight for a lot of things, you know. People will fight for the most dumbest shit. Okay, people get shot over cutting people off in the freaking street. You know, I will speak my truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I've it's just been the people that have been in my life, my family or whatever, like, they've learned to appreciate that, and they know that they need to hear it. They know that they need, so who else is going to tell you the truth? Who else? Who else do we have? Nobody's stopping you in the grocery store being like, yo, let me tell you some truth about you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people aren't speaking the truth like that. They don't even know your life. I get up and I go to work every day, 8 hours. Nobody knows my life, what I'm going through. So some of y'all gotta get some truth around here. like,
Yeah.
like, some of y'all gotta get some of this fire, and if you don't like it, then fine. And I'm not gonna beat a dead horse with somebody who doesn't even want to grow. You want to sit there and die? Okay, bye.
Yeah, and that's
I'm gonna,
okay. That's okay. You know, because think of it this way: like you had to go through a process like that, right?
yeah,
So I
exactly.
mean, it's okay. By cutting ties with him, think of the same way people had to cut ties with you. It allows him to go through the
Yes,
process of finding himself. You know what I'm trying to say? Because
yeah,
if you were to keep giving the drug of your love to him, then you just be an enabler.
exactly, exactly. And that's exactly what has got us this far, as in our communities and our families and our in the society that has been created for us. It's been choice after choice of the choice of, okay, you're rich, you're cool, you're this, you're that, you're pretty, you know, you got money, you got all this stuff, okay, you can pass. Like this fucking creep ass, I'm like Jeffrey Epstein, like I don't, that name gets no glorification. It only gets justice. And I
I
remember
don't
being
even know who that is, by the way.
exactly, but look it up. I mean, he's been in the news recently,
Okay.
but basically he was doing the same thing as R. Kelly, but tenfold more. Okay, and and I heard about him last year, and it was like through talk radio because I listened to a lot of KPFK, like talk radio stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, and uh, child trafficking.
Mm.
But he's on a level. He's a financial advisor. He's a high level executive financial advisor. Okay, he's dealing with people like Trump. Okay, they're living these lives in secret that we have no idea what they're doing behind doors, and all of a sudden, so I guess like maybe it had to been like 5 6 7 years ago where his ass got busted, right, for the child sex trafficking. He had a ring, and he was passing these children off to his colleagues, to the people that he was financially advising. We don't know who these people are, right, but we know they're important enough to not be named publicly. He got a fucking slap on the wrist for some 6 months. There were 30 children involved, and it got buried, it got tossed away, and nobody fucking talked about it. And then in 2019, the only reason he got busted up again is because they found, I guess, I don't know, somebody clicked him off, somebody said something, somebody fucking told. And they went and checked out his house, and he still had photos from back in the day
Mm.
of when he went to jail for the first time. And it's like, we gotta start getting we gotta start cleaning house.
Yeah.
We have to start cleaning house. Otherwise, nothing's going to change because
Yeah.
if we keep letting, I don't care who you are, I don't care what color you are, I don't care if you're black, white, purple, like, I don't care. Like, we have to start telling the truth. We have to start fighting for the truth, or our children are still like these. This is what allows our children to not be safe when they walk out in the streets, because, like, we allow these people, we enable these people for
I
our own selfish benefit.
I hear you. I'm with you. I feel all that, and it's like ultimately, I teach about metaphysics because I'm trying to empower people to realize that by us healing ourselves and us bringing that light of our souls online and on Earth, it is actually creating these situations of people being exposed.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't have to go out and do any kind of physical action. By us healing ourselves, that is shining the light already on the darkness within man.
Yes, within our own families, because it does
Yes.
start, and I think that's the message that I do want to be spoken more, within our own, like we're doing now, right? We're having a conversation, and
Mm.
we're bringing this up, and other people will be listening to this, right? And
Mm.
and the idea is that if we can evoke change within our own lives, if we are powerful enough to move mountains within our own circles, and then you add and multiply, that is a world change.
Mm.
Because when I say something to you in the grocery store, you're going to pass that on, or you take that on and you feel that, right? And then you take that on to somebody else, and then it goes to somebody else, and then it goes to it's like that's why they call things viral, like it's a viral message, it's a viral experience,
Yeah.
like by like say my brother was R. Kelly from back in the day, whatever. I don't even want to say that name. I'm sorry. It was just like just an example of like somebody fucked up,
Yeah. Yeah.
that consumed in that shit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, and I was an empath. I am who I am today, and I caught whiff of some weird stuff going on, and I didn't speak my truth. I denied my own purpose, and I allowed it to continue. Think about the people that are hurt in that ripple effect. But at that moment, even though I may not have the power to control or change anything, but my truth to just say, "Hey, bro, what's going on? What's happening? This like I'm concerned. I see something. I want to talk about this." Like, And it's up to that person in that moment to say, you know, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to own this. I'm going to keep doing it, whatever. Okay, that's on them, you know. And then eventually, if I have to call the authorities or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, my truth can change lives. It may not be on Ocasio Cortez level, but it's happening still, and it's still something.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's we can evoke change within our own very lives, you know, and that is enough. And I love that you said that, like that is enough.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it is. It is. I mean, you got to understand, like, the things that we cannot see still rule this universe,
mhm.
right? So every all the change that happens it's happening because of what's going on in the hearts of man, right?
Yeah,
So, you know, it's important. It's important for us to forget to remember that, because if we forget it, then we can get caught up in what's happening. For me, I don't even watch the news anymore. Why? Because I'm creating the news every single day within myself. You know what I'm trying to say?
if you could elaborate on that a little more.
Sure. Why I don't watch the news?
Yeah, yeah, just like how, and also how you create the news for yourself,
Like, meaning that we're all you've heard of the example of the body of Christ, right?
yes,
So we're
yes,
all connected via the soul, no?
right, yes,
Okay. So that means think of a tapestry, right? You know, like
yeah,
little individual fibers, right? And if, let's say, my soul is one of those fibers in that tapestry, as I lift that thread up of that blanket, whatever you want to call it, right? You're also part of that tapestry. So that means you rise even higher, right?
yes,
That means that the love within you, the truth within you, the light of your soul begins to rise higher, right? And illuminates the darkness in the world. That degree, right? So
right,
it's like, by me doing inner work, that vibrates the entire universe to another octave, correct?
mm.
And that,
um,
go ahead,
yes,
go ahead.
yes, I understand.
Okay, so that gives people the courage to speak up and speak out, right?
Mm.
All these movements that are happening of people that are being exposed and things like that, that's happening due to a spiritual awakening within man.
Yes,
So the inner work that people are doing, there are monks right now that probably live their lives in temples, right, and meditate almost all day long for the peace of humankind. They're not there because they're stupid and they're pacifists. They're doing inner work. That inner work is creating world change, right?
mm.
So right
Yeah,
here, sitting in my apartment, I'm creating world change. I'm creating the news. Literally, I'm creating the news,
mm.
right? The earthquake you saw in California a couple weeks ago, that was partly me.
I was here, I felt it.
Yeah, that was that. You're welcome. By the way, you're
Thanks.
welcome. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
not. So I'm not. I'm not. I don't feel powerless at all. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly the power of my soul, and it's boundless. The universe is finite. It had a beginning. It'll have an end. It's an illusion. It's just mental. The soul is beyond all universal law and controls everything in this material universe.
yes,
When you understand that, and you do, you know, through inner work and meditation, like you're talking about alchemy, I teach alchemy. That's what I do. This is my life. You know what I'm saying? So
awesome.
I understand the power of the soul and the power of
Mm.
bringing it online, and the power that I have through changing with the world within, like Christ, right? The story of Christ is the story of someone, the power of one man through his heart to free mankind. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
That's exactly it. So it's like, you know, as you begin to get in touch with that through meditation and things like that, and inner work, it's like you're able to find peace, because you're no longer you no longer find yourself subject to what's happening in the world, because you realize that the world, every the same way you came out of the addiction of being alcoholism, the world is coming out of an addiction to the world itself.
yeah,
The world is coming out of an addiction to the world itself, right? And to let go of the world is a painful process, right? If this world's not our home, and we have to let go of it, then we have to face the darkness of inside of ourselves that would allow our wills to even be distracted. You know what I'm trying to say? To forget in the first place. You know what I'm trying to say? So we're all going through an awakening process now. So it's like, And I'm sure we have been since the dawn, since we've fell into this world, going back to the original sin. I'm going to say we've always been on this, but we have free will, and so people are finally beginning to understand the importance to giving their will to the values of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Finding God back in their lives. You know what I'm saying? And as we're doing, hopefully spreading that message to others. So it's like, it's we live in a dark time at the same time, but it's also in the same way you had a dark experience. We understand that, that is one polarity, that we're moving out of, to make sure that it no longer exists. You know what I'm trying to say? As we move
Yeah.
into a new age. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Uh, totally. And we are the lantern holders, and kind of going back to what I said originally, everything that I went through is it's worth it, because shit doesn't shake me anymore. You know, like like nothing in this world can shake me. I mean, yes, I guess, but all these new stories and all of these things where I'm like, people are losing it. People are losing it.
They
You
are.
know,
That's
they're,
exactly why you need to. Well, I'm not saying you have to stop watching it. For me personally, I'm not watching it because I realize that as I change
yes,
myself, there's going to be ripple effect. It's going to have to play out, right? That Sister Chantel in their last podcast was talking about how Trump needed to be elected for people to
yes,
have the trauma necessary to create change, right? People need to
yes,
see the darkness. People need to see the ugliness of themselves, and also that being reflected in the world through the things that they haven't done, and the caring and the compassion that they haven't had. You know what I'm trying to say?
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
it's all part of a process, and finding peace in that and inner and stillness, is something that I try to convey a lot through podcasts, Empath, to find, because we're in the world of it. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like we have to hold that vibration for people as they begin to come out of the world and worldliness, so we can begin to convey messages like we're having now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that is it simply. That's it.